any moment.
Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor. The voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time. And SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friends are going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Hey, happy Monday, everybody. You're watching Creator Spotlight. My name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have a killer show for you today. I'm totally excited for this one. But as always, well, not as always, you haven't been here the last couple of weeks. Philip, how's it going, bud?
Hey, how's it going, Leo? It's good to be back. It's been busy, summer, spring, as you know, and glad to see you.
Oh, yeah. You're doing way too many podcasts, you know.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Patsy, how's it going, bud?
Oh, not bad. It's been a while since I've had the opportunity to join you guys on the show again, and I'm glad that I'm here. This is going to be an awesome episode.
Yeah, same here. Joshua!
Hey, I'm so excited for tonight. This is pretty dope.
Oh, totally.
Pretty dope.
I love the shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Philip, would you like to introduce our most awesome guest?
Absolutely. We have an absolutely fantastic guest tonight. For folks who are fans of genre cinema, they may know her from Hostel 2 and The Devil's Advocate. And we all have heard of 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon. Well, she could have her own 6 Degrees. She's worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, like Keanu Reeves and Anne Hathaway. So the Dorkening Network is proud to introduce Heather Matarazzo. I think I got that right.
Did he say it right?
Matarazzo. I'm from Boston. We have a lot of Italians here.
Yeah, you did.
Excellent.
Yeah. Italian and Irish.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
Yep, that's typical Bostonian. I'm surprised you're not from Boston instead of New York. It's kind of funny.
Oh, I think we lost your...
I have quite a few family members that are in Chicago and in Boston. Oh no, is this going to be a difficult?
We lost your audio for a second there.
Oh, it's back though.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do hear you. We do hear you. Yep.
It's
awesome.
back.
All right.
It's back.
Yep.
Okay.
I want to give everybody a heads up. Heather is going to be local soon. She's going to be at Classic Rewind Weekend, June 24th, 25th, and 26th in Atlantic City, New Jersey, on ShowBoat. So it's pop culture, nostalgia, comics, and more. That looks like an awesome con. Some very cool guests are going to be there, including yourself.
Any fellow cast members from other movies, like Scream or anything?
No, just me.
Oh, wow.
Me. That's all you get.
Oh, no. I was just wondering if you were looking to catch up with any castmates. Just you. That's got to be great. Everybody's there to see you. That's amazing.
That's right. Me or Mark Paul Glossier or Craig Biorco or Kate Flannery, all of who I'm fans of. It's what I'm hoping is that Michael Morona and Danny Tamborelli from Pete and Pete are going to be there. So I'm hoping that I get to run into them because that was the first TV show I ever did.
Cool. Yeah, I actually got to watch that. I was one of the kids sitting there. I think, well, maybe PJ's probably Patsy the Angry Nerd. You're probably around my age, right?
Yeah, I'm a little older than Heather is.
All right, so yeah, we were watching that.
Oh yeah, I remember those guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it was a show that was way ahead of its time, for sure.
Definitely. So I have a ton of questions, but first, my girlfriend wanted me to say that she loved you on Law and Order when you were playing the neurodivergent person, and she said you did such an amazing role. That role you did amazing in, and I actually don't know of it, but being a person of those calibers, like she said, you would have loved it. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. You know, she said you did the role. Did it honorably.
That's very, very, very kind of her. The character wasn't supposed to be neurodivergent, which then just completely cements my suspicions that I most likely am.
Yeah. Well then, all right. So you play yourself very well.
For me, it's all about it. It really is just who is the character? What do they want? What is their greatest fear? And I think Mario Van Peebles directed that episode.
How do you use the fear?
Well, it depends. Like for Hostel 2, it was a very primal fear, which is fear of dying.
That definitely makes sense in that role.
Yeah, and it's like Dawn Wiener, like her fear of not being accepted and not being loved. I mean, it's a lot of a lot of fears. Fear is one of the most base emotions, and I think that we sometimes hinder ourselves when we decide to get too intellectual about it. Where at least for me, as just a human being, when I get into moments of fear, it's I take my shoes off and I plant my feet firmly on the ground and I take a breath and I ask myself, why am I actually really so afraid? Do I need to be afraid in this moment? And on top of that, I've gotten
Does that help?
Fuck yeah, it does.
It does? Okay,
Yeah.
'cause like especially lately, like my anxiety has been like way up. I'll be driving and an attack comes on and I can't pinpoint what it's from or anything. It's just this sense of dread and like I had to pull over the other day. It was so strong. Like
Dude,
I'm in therapy, huge proponent of therapy, like having somebody to talk to about all the crap that's going on inside your head, like because we all think differently, we all have weird thoughts.
For sure, but they all, I feel, narrow to the same direction. Where when I unravel my whole entire fear thought process, the end result is that I am going to die. Like that's what it is. It's the fear of death, the fear of how I'm going to die, the fear of when I'm going to die, the fear of what happens after I die.
I can understand that one.
Yeah, so it's cuckoo, take whatever you want from that, but I think that we as a Western culture and society have really tried to minimize and detach ourselves from the reality that we all die.
I agree. Everybody has their, and I'm not against everybody having religion or like whatever faith or whatever you have.
Yeah.
But we really do have this like, well, I believe in whatever, and so therefore I'm absolved of whatever horribleness I'm doing. It's really kind of, in a sad way, the fear is kind of a good thing for a lot of us, I think. Although it can be bad. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't think fear is good or bad because those are value judgments, yeah? Where it's like fear is just fear. It's how you respond to the fear. You know what I mean? Where it's if I'm afraid of something, I'm either I've learned to go from being reactive to being responsive. Because at the end of the day, my feelings are my responsibility.
I find myself always asking the why. Why am I afraid of it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is that fear there? And I think that helps a lot. But
and what answers have you come up with?
Just when you don't know. If the
unknown, yeah,
the unknown is the biggest fear. I think it is for most people. Like you don't know about something, so your brain creates whatever it wants to believe. And that fear alone becomes so driven and makes you make decisions based on it.
Yeah, well, it's lack of control. It's I don't have any control over my life. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what is that quote? No one knows that at the time or the place, but the bell tolls for thee. And so for me, I try to make that a waking meditation as well as like a sleeping meditation. You
Well,
know,
now me and Heather have had therapy. I'm gonna go have a nap. See, Philip took off. He's like, oh, well,
hi,
Yeah.
Tucker.
No. I just have to get plug in my headphones. They're gonna die on me. So
Yeah.
I thought I had to leave for a second.
Better than a shotgun.
Oh yeah.
We have a great comment by Brody. I'll read it in a second. Just want to say we're if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. We're streaming in a ton of places, including we are live on Dead Dork Radio. So any questions, just post them in or message me, and I'll get to them as best as I can. Have you noticed, like for me, my I didn't realize I had anxiety until like the last couple of years, and it's really exacerbated over this critical time. Have you noticed, things get worse over the last couple of years?
I mean, I went on Lexapro this past October, which, and again, like, I'm not advocating medication use for anybody else. This is just for me, my experience.
Yeah, what works for each person.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, is
individual care.
Exactly. But I mean, here's the thing too, is that during the first part of the pandemic, there was a bit of sorry.
No worries.
There was a bit of a blissful period, because it was the first time in a capitalistic society we were essentially being paid to stay home.
Yeah.
And have a fucking break. And I'm a homebody bordering on hermit myself. So
you're in good company.
Yeah, so it worked really well for me. It was when the venturing back outside into the world under the guise that COVID was receding, and even driving down the street, it's like I think that there was this collective insanity that sprung forth in all of these different ways. So like road rage is a lot more apparent, I'm seeing, and there's a lack of, I think, general care for one's fellow human being. Not to mention that we went through an attempted coup, and didn't know what was going to be happening. So life is difficult enough when you don't add on a deadly pandemic, coupled with a potential almost successful insurrection.
I agree. Our
that's
political
fair.
climate to our health climate, well, everything is political climate these days, because our health that's politicized. So like everything, it's crazy how I don't, as a kid, I talk to my kids about this all the time. Like, I don't remember being so knowledgeable about what was going on. Like, I knew, like, Reagan was president at the time. It was right before Bush 1 came in. Like, I knew what was going on growing up in Massachusetts. Dukakis was running for president. So like there was these different things going on, but like everything, like from my kids going to school to who I vote for, everything is political now, and it's leached into their like world. Like they know about everything. And as Brody was mentioning, it's Pride Month. Like I have two or three, I don't know, I have 5 kids altogether. 2 or 3 of them are LGBTQ, and like it's even that is political. Like there's states where you can't say the word gay at this point, like in schools, and like it's really scary how hateful our country has become. Like, although I go outside and I'll see my neighbors and like people are kind, I know there's kindness, But like from what I see on TV, news, everything, the world is scary as hell.
Well, it's we've noticed a lot of people with different ideals that used to be quiet, have become overspoken. You mentioned Brody. I just want to mention a comment real quick. Brody Bellamy says Heather has been an important voice for the LGBTQA community. Great guest to have on Pride Month. Representation truly matters. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I have a follow-up question based on the discussion about fear and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself trying to channel your fear and other, quote unquote bad feelings when do you use that to fuel your creativity when you're trying to, write something or come up with some sort of ideas for, whatever your next project might be?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's that for me personally, I don't put moral judgments on feelings. Their feelings are feelings, and I think for me personally, I'm in the middle of writing a play right now that is loosely based on a very emotionally taxing experience that I had of meeting my birth mother, and I've gone through waves of moments of terror where I'm writing and then something just comes up, and within that too, getting to see that I don't desire for my lived experience to be in vain. And so how do I utilize the experiences of my life to let others know that they're not alone? And so that to me takes precedence over whatever fear I might be having in a moment.
Well, I think that also lends itself more to the authenticity of what you're creating. Like, they say write what you know, but when you're really you're trying to really conceptualize something, it's a lot easier to understand how your characters are going to feel if you yourself have experienced it, and you're putting some of that pain, and that can almost be cathartic and therapeutic in a way where you're sharing stuff with someone, and maybe you go and you screen this or something, and someone comes up to you afterwards and it's like, oh, this character you wrote, it reminds me so much of the experiences I went through, and it's so amazing that someone else can understand how that feels.
But that's it. But that's the thing, I think of that movie that Will Smith did with his son, where they were, I think, like the only two people left on the planet,
after Earth.
Yeah.
right?
After
Where
Earth.
it's like I haven't had the experience of being a young Black boy, on a distant planet before.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have had the experience of is fear, the desire to feel safe, the desire to return home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. It's like we go to the movies to see ourselves. That's like actors and writers and actors. We're all just essentially mirrors. That's all we are. We're mirrors for each other, and that identification of the audience, that's them. And getting to feel safe enough to feel unsafe.
Yeah, because you're there are so many different levels to it. Like you're saying, there's the person who comes up with the story, whoever happens to write it, and then the person who directs it, if that's a different person, and then the actor who is chosen to portray this character. Now everyone is taking their own experiences and kind of transposing them onto this story and these characters, and everyone's going to tell that story differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
and that's
and see it differently.
But then hopefully there's that symbiotic relationship where everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, it's a shared experience that everyone, it's like, I've dealt with something similar to this in my life, or I've been in, like you're saying, this desire to go home, whether it's, Kate Winslet sitting on the door in Titanic, or Matt Damon in The Martian. Like, those are the same emotions. You're just in different situations. You just want to get home.
Exactly. And that's
safety.
Yeah, and in that space, I think that storytelling in and of itself is a universal language.
Yes.
Well, also with
Now,
Matt Damon.
Heather, to get into to get into some of your acting, you've played a rural. I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say a bad joke.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
I think you got a bit of a delay.
You can't hear us.
I have a question for you about. Okay, I have a question for you, Heather, about your acting. You've played rural folk from the South in Devil's Advocate, and you grew up in the Northeast. You're mentioning some of the acting from Law and Order. Never mind playing a college co-ed type in Hostel 2. For your acting itself, have you? What's your background, and how did you learn acting? Were you doing method acting? Did you have professional training? Just for folks who are curious, because not everybody goes to Wikipedia and learns about what your history.
I started working professionally as an actor when I was 7. I never had any formal training, and there's that great Morgan Freeman quote that I love, which is, "I don't know if I chose acting or acting chose me," and I feel that it was a bit of both. And it's yeah. To answer that question, I'm not a method actor. I'm not that self-indulgent. Like different strokes for different folks, as it were. But I'm not looking to send my coworkers rats on a film just to show how hard I'm working.
So I have a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
I have recently gotten into working in films, and I've been doing that since September.
Mm-hmm.
And I've slowly worked from very low budget to fairly high budget. I've worked with some big names. I've worked with some of the folks you've worked with. I would like to know your thoughts, because I don't believe in it, mainly because I'm at the bottom of it. But I don't believe in the hierarchy on set. When basically, I am very friendly, I'm very personable and outgoing, and I treat everyone exactly the same. Whether you're the PA taking out the trash, you're the director, you're one of the main stars, I'm always very nice to everyone. And I've had a couple of people like, oh, you really need to respect the hierarchy. You don't talk to anybody unless they talk to you. And it's like, but everybody's a person. I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, you're on set, you're getting ready for a scene. You're walking from, whoever happens to have picked you up, and you get dropped off, and you're walking over to get ready for your scene. Someone says, "Hey, Heather, good morning. How are you?"
I say hi, and I say their name, and I say, like, great so far today, but if we're on hour 13 or we're on hour 14, it's going to be a bit like this.
It's going to be a little different, yes.
But also, here's the thing. I am very fucking aware that actors, that teamsters and crew members get there hours before I have to show up. So if I have a call time at 6 a.m., most people are there at 3 a.m. And on top of that, that if I'm in a position where I'm getting the privilege of getting picked up and dropped off and not driving myself, other people have to fucking drive home on their own after working 17, 18, 19-hour fucking days.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw what happened in Mexico.
Yep.
With those 2 actors that tragically died and the 2 crew members that lost their lives. I'm a socialist communist when it comes to when it comes to equity in regards to film, where it's, if I'm working on an ultra low budget and Crafty needs to move the table, it's like, all right, let me help you out and we'll move the table together, because everybody
done anyways.
Everybody's primary focus should be to make the best movie that they possibly can, and there really isn't any room for egos. And that doesn't mean that I haven't had bad moments on set, which I think everyone and their mother has, and sometimes justifiably so.
Yeah.
When people are acting like asshats and we've been waiting around for 2.5 fucking hours and the basic things aren't getting fucking done and we're losing the fucking light,
Yep.
and it's we can't cut this scene because it's essential to the plot, like shit like that, which normally is then dealing with the hierarchy, which is the producers and the director and it's like I would rather crack a crew. I would rather crack a beer with the crew at the end of the day on the back of a fucking grip truck, than I would with the quote unquote higher ups, especially if they consider themselves higher ups.
See, I like that. I've had 99% of the interactions that I have been great. And I think that kind of has emboldened me. I started telling a story right before you jumped on where I was at a rehearsal. It was the day before we started shooting, and there's a lot of well-known actors going through their lines and getting ready for the scene that we're going to film the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the director who has an Oscar for screenwriting, and I go up to him and say, "Hey, I have this thought about how you can fix your dialogue." And it's like, who the hell am I? Just as like this health and safety guy, but I'm like, hey, can I share an observation with you? Like, this is what I'm seeing as a casual observer, not someone who's involved in the creative process, but someone like who would be watching the film.
Yeah.
And I tell the director what I think, and he's like, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. That's great. And like, as a result, remembers me and talks to me almost every day on set, even if it's just, hey, how you doing? How are things? But it's like, if I had, respected, quote unquote, the hierarchy, there's no way I should even like be making eye contact with this guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's how some people look at it.
And here's the thing. It could have gone the other way, where he could have turned around and been like, what?
Who the
fuck is this guy? Get him the fuck out of here. Like,
right.
So I think that there's also a balance in the space of when somebody goes up, like there's always a balance to be had, where it's, I've been on projects where the director didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Oh, this guy knew what he was doing, and he was very, very, very kind.
But too many cooks in the kitchen can sometimes lead to a tone that is uneven and a story that is uneven, because and that's the balance that a director needs to be able to carry, where it's at the end of the day they are the captain of the ship, but also being aware that collaboration is incredibly important, because you're not going to know everything. And that's why you get to surround yourself with as many people to make sure that the vision of the story comes to pass in the most honest and authentic way.
I mean, it was really just using the same word over and over in like a very short span of time, like within a couple of sentences, using the same word over and over. And I don't think anyone else would have said that to him, because obviously no one did. And it's like, yeah, you're the director and you also wrote this, so maybe it's something that like you didn't see, or like when you write your own stuff, you don't always.
Yes, you can be way too close to it, for sure.
But he signed a DVD for me, and in it he wrote, on day one you gave me a piece of direction that was right on the money. Don't steal my job.
Who's the director?
Brian Helgeland. A Knight's Tale, 42.
Oh, there you go.
L.A. Confidential, which he won
Yeah.
the Oscar.
Yeah. I mean, there you fucking go, and that's classy as opposed to trashy.
Oh yeah, he's great. He was awesome. I got to work with Alexander Payne as well. Super nice guy. Like, if you ever get the chance to work with either of them, do it. Like, that's all I can recommend with those two gentlemen.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, dude. That's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
So speaking about acting, Jamie had a question. So Heather, now I'll try to rephrase this a little bit. I know you've you've worked with some amazing people and you have some awesome movies under your belt. It's hard to pick a favorite, but what was a most enjoyable or a very enjoyable part that you played?
Oh gosh, I mean, they've all been enjoyable for very different reasons. It's like asking somebody to pick their favorite child.
Exactly.
It's impossible. It's impossible, and I don't mean that to be a trite answer, but it's the honest one.
I mean, that's fair too.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to dominate the conversation, but there's a specific thing I wanted to ask, and there's a specific way I wanted to ask it, and you'll understand in a moment. So you have, transitioned from not just acting, but now you're looking to get behind the camera as well, and, start directing, and you're talking about writing. So would you say that in this instance, a change would do you good?
Oh man.
Very smart, very smart. I mean, always, if I'm not changing and growing, I'm dying.
That's fair.
What helps you to actually pick a role? Something
My gut
choose.
instinct.
Yeah.
And sometimes my gut is wrong. I mean, I've made, but also within that too, that's a learned muscle. Where when I was younger, I listened to a lot of other people instead of my own inner wisdom, as it were.
Which makes sense. People
you know-
treat you as a child, so they treat you as like somebody who doesn't know what they want.
And also just the business side of it, where it's like, well, this is going to be good for you because then and at the end of the day, they're just out to make their fucking money.
yeah.
They didn't really give a shit, and that was a hard lesson for me to learn, but also one that, to a certain degree, was life changing and allowed me. The only way that you know that you have a voice and that you have a gut instinct is to first experience you not having a voice and a gut instinct.
So, I know you were adopted. Were your adoptive parents, were they supportive in the acting part, or was it something more of like, just doing it, but like whatever,
I mean, if they weren't supportive, I wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? Because it's like
True.
a 7-year-old is not going to be able to go on the Long Island Railroad by herself.
True.
So my adopted mom, had to take me into the city for auditions, and had to sit on set for hours and hours while I worked, and I think that she saw that not only was this something that I really enjoyed, but it was something that I was naturally very good at, and why stop a train that is rolling at a good clip.
It's gotta, like, for your parents, it's gotta be very prideful to see. I know how that feels. Like, my son took on being into computers at a very young age, and he knew right away he was going to be a computer programmer, and like went right down that path. And it was like, wow, I know he's okay. Like, he may not become super successful, but he knows what he wants in life.
And that to me is successful in and of itself.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I don't, you know, what is the truth? It, I think sometimes it's a difficult question to fully answer in the space of, you know, there were a lot of other things that were going on in my home life at the time that I think that I provided my adoptive mom to a certain degree a way out in some spaces. So she benefited from me being an actor as much, if not a little more than I did.
Interesting. I think I get what you're laying down. Now, a little bit deeper. I don't know how much you want to talk about
Dude,
this,
if I
but
listen, if I
okay.
don't want to talk about
But
it, I will gang the fuck out of you.
well, you're writing now about meeting your real mother. How old were you when you not decided, but like you sought her out and met her? I myself haven't seen my dad since I was 6. Saw him for 2 weeks. Bought me a GI. I know the GI Joe to this day. The name is in my head. And he took off 2 weeks later, and I've never seen him again. I know where he lives. I know everything about him. I don't know if I have this want to connect to him and be like, hey, look, this is everything you missed. This is everything. I don't know the full story about behind your adoption and stuff, whether it was something that was willingly you were given up because it would need or whatever. But like for me, it's like this guy had a chance to get to know me and he chose not to. And now my brother has like completely, he's like, I don't want to fucking know that guy ever. Like fuck him. Blech.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm like, well, I have kids, I have all this stuff, and dude, I want to know, even myself, I want to know what I missed, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like a very hard kind of crazy, like emotional fight within myself. How did that work for you?
Oh, geez, Louise. I mean,
Sorry to go so.
Oh, honey, don't be sorry. Again, I can easily just say, "You shall not pass." Move on.
Run, fools.
I'm obsessed with the Lord of the Rings, by the by.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Can't wait for the Amazon show.
So, me either, though I'll tell you, side note, I am loving the Wheel of Time.
Oh, right.
I wanted to cast on that show so badly.
Robert's fan. I love that book series. It was so good.
So fucking good, man. And God knows I have the faith and peace for it. But you know, like I was
we got to get you to be one of the Sedai.
I like, please,
fucking
like
dope.
Please, you know, or a fucking woman that lives in the woods.
Yeah.
Like I don't fucking care. So I was brought to what eventually became my adoptive family's home through foster care, and I was in foster care officially till I was 5. There was a lot of shame around the adoption, in the space of I was told growing up explicitly that I was not allowed to talk about my adoption. I was not allowed to ask questions. That was like a no-go. And I wrote this in a blog post where I had one day my adoptive mother was out of the house, probably at like TJ Maxx or Marshall's, and my dad was downstairs drinking his wine, and I snuck into their bedroom and I opened up this brown filing box where my adoptive mother had kept all these important records, and I found mine. So I found my last name. And as I think I was like between 7 and 9, I just remember that, and I must have been closer to 9 because I was in middle school, but they had this weird thing with like the elementary school kids also like went to the middle school for a bit. And I snuck down into the basement where my dad kept this jar of quarters. And I went to school the next day with all these quarters, and there was a payphone, and they had the white pages back then because of course they did. And I started to go through all of the quarterlies in the Bronx, like essentially just like an, "Are you my mother?"
Oh my.
And I got caught, and my adoptive mom got called to the school, and she was a terrifying woman, and I was like, I'm going to be killed. And she took me to the pediatrician, and he didn't give me any information. But then the following weekend, I went back into the brown filing box to look at it again, and it was gone. It had completely disappeared, which essentially was my punishment.
Yeah,
like the erasure of any kind of identity that wasn't fully linked with the Matarazzos. And I know this is a very long answer to a question.
Oh no.
I had always.
I love finding out this stuff.
Yeah.
How people work, and it's the reason I enjoy podcasting. I really love listening to the person's mind, and once again, it's trying to find my own me in what you're talking about.
No, I received that. I mean, I always thought because we had foster kids in and out of the house from the time I got there, and even before I got there, so it would be 2 or 3 years that children would be with us, and then they would leave, or they'd be there for a week, or they'd be there for a year or 6 months. And I never really understood how they all got to quote unquote go home, but I didn't. And, I was also raised to believe that my birth dad was dead. And so when I officially turned 18 and I started looking for my birth mom, that took a couple of years until I found this specific site with this woman who works as one of those adoption angel people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fucking awesome because they essentially just dedicate their lives to helping adoptees find their origins. And she found my birth mom, who at the time was living down in North Carolina as a 1-900 psychic.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, just super, super, super trashy. And I went and I met with her, and then it was.
Did she work for Miss Cleo? Did she have to put on a Jamaican accent and everything?
No. She didn't have to do that, but it was a call center. So she would work from home and have one of those 1990s Madonna headphone things.
Oh yeah.
And I was supposed to stay there for 2 days. I ended up only staying 23 hours because I couldn't handle it. And she was very withholding also about any information about my birth dad. And I finally got his name from her right before I was leaving. And then cut to the person I was with in a long-term relationship with. Her family was from Dallas, Texas, and were very wealthy, like the kind of wealthy that had a psychic on retainer.
Oh.
Like a legit on retainer. And I'm a fucking New Yorker, you know what I mean? So as open as I am, I'm also very skeptical.
Oh yes.
Of this shit. And it didn't help that my birth mom too was psychic. Though I do believe that we all have capacity to flirt with or swim in those energies. If and when we desire. So I went to this woman and, just skeptical as fuck. And I wanted to find out where my birth dad was buried. And she says, "Oh, he's not dead. He's alive and a lot closer than you think." And I'm like, "No, he's fucking dead." I was told this growing up. I was told by my birth mom, he's dead. So this woman's voice is ringing in my ear for fucking weeks. He's like, he's alive and a lot closer than you think. He's alive and a lot closer than you think. And I was like, fuck it. So I reached out to the private investigator that helped me find my birth mom, and cut to 24 hours later. Hello, Heather. It's your birthday, Patrick. And he was living 20 minutes away from me in the Bronx.
Oh, shit.
And then
That's fucking wild.
And then I found out the rest of the story, and it was heartbreaking. Like, I'd never seen photos of myself as a baby, and I hadn't really seen photos of myself as like a toddler. And after I found my birth dad, his side of the family started coming out of the woodwork, and I had a cousin who had all of these photos of me, including photos that I was like, wait a second, my hair is long, and I recognize that outfit. I recognize that outfit from my adoptive family.
Wow.
And so, come to find out, you know, the late 70s and the early 80s were a really precarious time for adoptees, and especially when dealing with the Catholic Church and Catholic institutions. And essentially what I found out was that my birth dad had secured us a place to live, had done all of the stuff, and he went to the Catholic charity where I was, you know, placed for foster care. And they said that I was gone, and he kicked off, and he was an Irish immigrant and didn't have a lot of resources and didn't have a lot of money. And he essentially mourned the loss of his daughter for decades until I found him. And he actually happened to be looking for me at the same time, but with the way that the European nations do the dates, you know, like the day would be 10, then the month would be 11, and then the year would be 82. Whereas here in America, we do the month, the day, then the year. So that caused confusion. So yeah, that is my very long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's amazing. And are you happy that you went out and found them? I mean, I'm sure with your dad, you're like, feels great.
Oh no.
Is the mom kind of like that celebrity you wanted to always meet and was just like, shit?
Well, they're both dead now.
Oh.
My birth mom died 2 years after I found her. And my birth dad died in January of 2015. And the way that I describe the relationship, I have a lot of love for my birth dad, but at the time I couldn't hold his grief in addition to holding my own, because there was a lot to grieve. There was a lot to grieve, and I didn't have the emotional capacity to hold his grief with the grief that I was experiencing, because a lot of lies came out into the light, and there was a deep sense of betrayal that was soul crushing and soul shattering.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to go through all that.
No, I'm not.
Well, I'm sure you're like myself. All of this makes us who we are. So.
Yeah, and to quote two of my favorite women, Nora Ephron says, "It'll make great copy," and Carrie Fisher says, "If my life wasn't funny, it would just be true, and that's unacceptable."
Yeah.
You know, so I'm getting to write it down, and what I'm writing is funny. So it works out for everybody. And I keep my sadness with my therapist.
Yeah. that don't they just know how to she asks one question, I go on for an hour, and I'm sitting there crying at the end. She's just like, all right, Jeremy, so same time next week, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I used to have my therapist remind me to look both ways before crossing the street after sessions.
So I just wanted to remind everybody that you are going to be at Classic Rewind Weekend. This is going to be June 24th, 25th, and 26th at ShowBoat, Atlantic City, New Jersey. And some of the people that are going to be there, you have Mark Paul Gosselaar. Tara Reid's going to be there. Kate
It's
Flannery.
like a 90s, like...
Dude, This
It's a
is
classic rewind.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Jim Cummings, Felissa Rose,
Oh my God,
Tracy.
it's my whole childhood like
I know.
rolling in the credits right here.
Tracy Gold,
Ooh,
Julie
feedback you sent
McCullough.
me.
I think that might be Phil. Judith Hogue, DB Sweeney. Holy crap. Heather Matarazzo, Richard Tyson, Aline Quinn, Shauna Waldron, Sam Horgan. Well, the list goes on and on and on. Holy crap.
Damn.
This is going to be a fun
You're in
weekend.
good company at least.
Yeah, man.
They added
The entire Mighty Ducks.
Dude, I just looked the other day and this was like they added a ton of people. This is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete and Pete reunion.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So do you do a lot of cons?
This is going to be my first one in well over a decade. I've only done one other con in my life.
How do you enjoy them?
Well, you know, it's the actor's lap dance. And yeah, it's you know, I here's the thing is that I feel much more comfortable being my awkward self now than I did even a couple of years ago. You know, I'm inherently awkward. I'm inherently fucking weird, and a lot of people can sometimes confuse my awkwardness for coldness, but it really is just being in a crowd of a lot of people can overwhelm me, which is why I'm thankful for Lexapro and Xanax, and just I'm at a space now where I feel completely grounded and at peace and ready to be open-hearted and just get to meet people that are fans of mine, have enjoyed the movies I've done, have enjoyed my work, because that really is like the thing that drives me. You know, it's there's no greater feeling than when somebody is able to recognize you and they pull you aside and say how much your work meant to them.
Absolutely.
Phil, I think we're getting a little buzz from you, but I think you had a question and you weren't coming through. Did you have a question there, Phil?
Oh, no. I was just mentioning when Jeremy said real mother, the proper term was mother. That's all I wanted.
No, yeah, no. I saw that. I screwed up. I'm horrible. Like you should, as I mentioned earlier, I have 3 LGBTQ kids, and some of them identify as they them, and like I am the worst. I screw up all the time, but I try. But like, my God, it's yeah. I wish there was something in my brain that could rewire itself to be like, "Hey, stupid!" Like, just
My
do
parents
it, right?
get my name and my brother's name mixed up all the
Well,
time, and they
I
always
do that
have.
all with
So,
the animals and everything. Everybody's
yeah,
like
so
But the
15.
fact that you're trying in and of itself is, you know, and I personally wasn't offended by the use of real mother, you know,
Okay.
because it's you know,
I
like-
don't mean anything offensive
Yeah,
by it,
no.
and I'm always learning. So
because to a
that's
certain degree, she is my real mother. I came out of her vagina and possibly
Yes.
wore her as a hat for a second. You know,
my
like
vagina's 8 miles wide. No, nobody.
So you've shared the light with some amazing actors. Just to name a few, like Anne Hathaway, Garry Marshall. Well, you worked with Garry Marshall, Julie Andrews, Al Pacino, Keanu Reeves. Was there anyone in particular during your career that they gave you like some amazing advice that you take through to today, or just like any experience you'd like to share?
oh gosh, I mean, yeah, I definitely like. It's sickening the amount of brilliance that I've gotten to work with throughout the years. You know, the one story that does come to mind, and it really, I was working with BB Newirth on a film, and we were working very long days. And not only were we working long days, it was an independent film, and the house that we were working in was really dirty and really, to a certain degree, hazardous. Like I remember one shot, I had to walk down these stairs, and the end, BB was like, "There's nails on the floor. We're not going to have that girl walk down and step on a nail and get sepsis. Make sure that all of the nails are off the steps." Like, so I've always had people that have looked out for me in spaces where, again, I think when I did that movie, I was 15. So I was raised in an environment where it was, you keep your mouth shut and you keep your head down and you do the work and you don't make waves and you don't ask questions and you don't make a fuss and you just
It's really crazy in this world that we live in now. Like, I talk to the kids and they're like, I'm not going to let them do that. I'm like, at work, you do what they tell you. What do you mean? Do as they say. I'm like, what? You have choices now?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's
you have to be treated like a human being? What is going on?
I know.
It's weird.
So that to me is always a memory where it's like BB New Earth really, 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 really looked out for me. And like by and large, I've been very, very, very fortunate and lucky with the people that I've gotten to work with. And I've most of the time experienced just nothing but a lot of warmth and professionalism and generosity of spirit.
So since you got to go through this through your teens and some of your 20s and 30s, best Hollywood party?
Drew Barrymore used to throw really great Hollywood parties. Yeah, she used to throw the best Hollywood parties, and I definitely they always say that youth is wasted on the young. It's an overwhelming experience where you're in an industry where you're working with and brushing shoulders with people that you're fans of, so you add my initial awkwardness and anxiety coupled with booze, and it was a time. It was a time.
Facebook user is asking, how was it working with Eli Roth?
Oh, there we go.
It was great. It's the only movie I've ever done where we shot in sequence. So, from opening image to the end, it was all in sequence, which was very
interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting and very, very helpful, at least for me as an actor, to be able to get
I
to
can
that.
imagine, because you're actually telling the story instead of going, I'm doing this part here, and then I'm going to tell this part over here, and then this part down here. So, that's got to be a lot easier for you because you're just running down through the whole story. Yeah,
and the emotional beats that align with said story.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question kind of piggybacking off of that.
Yeah.
So that one specific scene in Hostel 2.
The one that got banned in 3 countries.
Yeah. Now, first of all, yours was really the only character in that entire trilogy that I felt bad for because she was just such a sweetheart. And most of them on the 3 films are just dumbass guys thinking with their dicks, so they get what they deserve. But I felt you absolutely didn't. What was it like doing that scene, and how much of that was you and how much of that was, a stand-in?
It was 98% me. We shot it over 2 days. I prepared for 3 months with an inversion machine. So at first I learned to hang upside down for 5 seconds, and then 10, and until I was able to get up to 20 minutes.
That's some
Because-
disorienting shit. Like,
but I was able to do it, and that's also one of the many things that I love about being an actor is that you're not just getting to push yourself emotionally and mentally, you're also getting to push yourself at times physically and getting to see just what your body is capable of. And because we were filming in Prague, they didn't have the same safety regulations that they do like in the US. So when I'm hanging upside down, there's no mat underneath. There's nothing. And I have very tiny ankles and very small feet. I'm like a 5.5, 6. Like I am like a hobbit in some weird way. Including like the ear tip. But I remember.
what about second breakfast?
And 11sies?
11sies.
11sies.
I don't think he knows what 11sies is.
But I remember, you know, they were doing the wheel out for that scene, and I have that thing around, and I have these chains to my back, and my foot started slipping. Like my foot started slipping.
Oh fuck.
And I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm literally gonna die right now. Holy fuck. And I just remember gently taking the chains off and undoing the thing. And I was like, I think my foot's slipping. So can we get this a little tighter? And they did it a little tighter. And then I went back up, and the rest is kind of a blur. You know, it's definitely one of the most intense scenes I've ever shot in my life for all of the reasons, because Eli would be like, I want you to wriggle on the line like a fish. Wriggle more, wiggle more. Just really get your whole body into it. And so I did, you know, and then all of the close-ups of the scythe going down the body was literally Eli, and it was literally a scythe, and it was a dull scythe, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was going down my body. Like it and I'm really fucking proud of that scene. In a very specific way. I'm proud of that scene because I got to see just what I was capable of. And the fact that it disturbed so many people. I know quite a few people passed out. You know, but I don't think that it yeah, man, it's like, man, I just love getting to be an actor. Like that's the shit. Like I love getting to do. Would I do it now? Absolutely fucking not. You know, but when I'm old and my tits are to the floor, I can look back and be like, well, at least you had that.
There you go.
How many
Heather,
did they do?
Heather,
Yeah.
I had a question about that. Even though it was in Prague and their safety concerns aren't the same as in the United States,
Uh-huh.
did you find it weird that an American production didn't want to follow what would be standard in the United States to protect the talent like yourself versus just following the local law rules?
It's what rules the world.
That is what rules the world. That is what rules the world. And it's like, that really is it at the end of the day. And again, we can see that again and again and again and again and again and again, you know, and yeah. And it's hard too when it's on the day, right? And then you see that there isn't a mat, you see there isn't a thing, and like you've got to work and you've got to go. So I don't want to be the person that's holding up production. Like, and that was then. Now it would be different. And I also have very different representation than I did back then. You know,
Yeah.
but there is something to be
It
said.
just sounds ironic that it's just ironic that the other folks that were working with you, the ones that should have spoke up for you, or the ones that were the rulers of the set, wouldn't have done that. That's all. It's just bizarre. I mean, it's like you said, though, it's money. I mean, even if in Canada they have the same rules as us, they go to Canada intentionally because it's cheaper to film up in Canada. So everything is money. But the safety, you would think they would care. You know, it's just odd. Yeah, that's
Well,
unfortunate.
I'm
I would
sure
have
they're
gotten
also
fired on that set.
yeah. I'm sure in their heads they're also saying, "Well, she said yes. She's
Yeah,
doing
and
it."
it's
No,
and
I would have, you know, again, not that I have ever had any type of high-ranking position on a film set,
yet.
but
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Always
here's
finish
hoping.
with
But I would be like, there have been times where I've seen things that have been like, hey, that seems like it's an issue. Like on my first day, I said something to somebody. I was like, hey, is that lighting gel supposed to be on fire? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm like, this seems like it could be an issue. I'm not an expert, as this is my very first day ever, but it's smoking and I think someone should know about it. You know, like little things like that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's you know, that's the nature of, I mean, that's part of the nature of the beast. And I mean, actually, Heather, that's such fucking bullshit, dude. That is such fucking bullshit. And you just silently disagreed with the practices of fucktards. Fuck nuggets. Pardon me. So yeah, it's like, I mean, for fuck's sakes, dudes. You know, it's
So,
just flowing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, I have a fun question for you. Not that, you know, this all hasn't been fun, but you know, talking about like your day to day, your week to week, you know, what do you dork out about? Like, is there like, do you go like Wednesday? Yes, we get to watch
Lord
Miss
of the
Marvel.
Rings. Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings.
other than Lord of the Rings.
Other than
Do you
Lord of the
collect
Rings,
anything?
like you know, Boys on Friday. You know, for me, like
Obi-Wan's on Wednesday.
Obi
I
Wan's
mean,
on Wednesday.
yes, Obi-Wan and Miss Marvel are on Wednesday.
Hell yeah.
And then I watched every episode of The Boys this past season.
So good so far.
Oh my gosh, that first episode, and just I was not expecting the shrinking, and then the cavern,
Oh my god,
and then the
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
ouch. It's the only time I've ever sympathized with a
My
penis.
prostate.
Oh.
You know, so
Oh
that,
my.
and then just finished Wheel of Time. I'm really kind of bummed that all of the fantasy authors that I loved growing up have turned out to be such disgusting people.
Yeah.
Like Marion Zimmer Bradley, finding out the truth about her and she wrote The Mists of Avalon, you know, and then finding out about David Eddings was also a disappointment. That wrote the Pawn of Prophecy series.
I don't know.
You know,
about him.
oh my God, yeah, it just, yep. There's a whole rabbit hole you can go down on.
Yay.
Not well, go down.
Oh, whoa, Heather.
It's after 9. The show gets a little blue.
We weren't just talking about The Boys, I guess.
Yeah. So that, and then I have a thing. I'm obsessed with books. So I love books. I'm a collector of books. I'm also a collector of vinyl records, in particular jazz and musicals. And I love woodwork. Like
I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, so like over the pandemic, I built us 4 backyard chairs that were like Restoration Hardware style.
Nice.
Oh, that's like real woodworking.
Yeah,
That's carpentry. That's not woodwork.
But it came from looking at Amazon and seeing really shitty furniture that was being
$800
exactly. And I was like, why can't I just go to Kohl's and get some 2x4s and 4x4s and just do that? And so I did. You know, I really love. Yeah, I love working with my hands, and just getting to make different things. And you know, I love. I have a low key obsession with lucid dreaming. And
That's awesome. I wish I could do that. That's like some hard work stuff there.
But it's not though. It really is just simply it's like anything else, right? It's like developing habits, you know.
Practice
So
and repetition.
yeah, so in the beginning I would set reminders on my phone to do a reality check, you know, and then after a bit of time, the way that I would ask myself, am I dreaming, started to fundamentally change. And it got to a space where I would question, am I actually dreaming or not? So when I did have those few experiences of finally achieving lucidity, it was brilliant. And that to me is also in part because of my fear of death. And I look at what the Buddhists do with dream yoga, just in the sense, because I think about Patton Oswalt's first wife, who passed while she was asleep. And I've always had that question, how long would it take for me to find out that I was dead? Let's say, especially if I was dreaming during my death.
That's a crazy kind of like.
Yeah,
it's
and
almost
I
like
think
a way to.
You're gonna have me up until like 4 a.m.
Also,
it's her fault.
Well, read the Tibetan book of Living and Dying.
Okay.
Not the Tibetan book
like
of
this
Life
kind
and
of
Death,
stuff.
but Living and Dying. And then also Field Guide to Lucid Dreams is a great starter book.
All right.
I think you just induced a new fear into me. I do have to say I was really big into lucid dreaming for a while there, and I finally accomplished it, and it scared the ever-living shit out of me.
What happened?
So I did the whole thing with the reality checks where you touching your fingers, and I did that for like a week, and when I fell asleep, it was like I fell into nothingness. Like it was complete darkness. Like yeah, but I was totally conscious about like being in nothingness, and it scared the shit out of me, and I never did it again.
Oh wow, that's I mean, that's actually.
I get it.
I understand. Yeah, it sounds scary, but like also like wow, that power. It's like wow.
It sounds like your supervillain origin story.
Yeah.
No, it's that thing of I think it's not Stephen LaBerge, but it's not Stephen LaBerge, not Robert Moss, for fuck's sakes, and it's definitely not Alan Watts. It'll come to me, but regardless, the quote is that the dreamer is like the captain of the boat, like the captain of the boat controls the boat, but not the sea. You know, so that's the thing that's so fascinating and interesting, where you're able to come to a space of getting to be conscious in your quote unquote unconscious. You know, and there have been all of these studies that have been recently done regarding lucid dreaming, and as a way to deal with fears, and as a way to deal with PTSD and all of this other stuff. Because like for me, it's what is it to be alive? What is it to be a human being? What is consciousness? Like, what is that? Why do people have obsessions about Egypt and they've never been to Egypt? You know, why do some people have obsessions with, you know, France in the 1920s like I do? You know, it's there's a lot more, I think, to being a quote unquote human than we realize or that we've been quote unquote told about.
I think we could talk to you for like a month and get into some crazy
yeah.
shit. Like you've got to be one of our most well-read guests so far. Like you're like naming off these actual authors and stuff. We usually just get comic book people and stuff. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, whoa, she reads real books too. That's awesome.
I bet none of those books have pictures in them.
I know. So weird. I thought I was the only one.
Dude, but comics, I mean, and this is my
they're
other
great.
obsession.
Comics are great too, but
Doom Patrol.
Oh, fantastic show. Like, can you ah like
I know. I
like
know.
I didn't think these weird side story like Doom Patrol, don't get me wrong, I loved like reading Alan Moore and stuff, not Alan Moore, God, I'm forgetting the name. But it's weird and stuff, but it's not a huge like following so that we got a show for it. I was like, "Oh my god, this is great. This is so great." And the weirdness in it, like I'm just like
But it also makes so much sense because the truth is that they're essentially getting to face their deepest fears.
exactly.
They're getting to face every single thing that they hate about themselves, that scares them or brings them shame or brings them guilt, and getting to see how this community of misfits is able to help and heal each other. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
we're
Like,
not held, and we don't just become villains. We become heroes. Like we're all
yes.
messed up. We have these really messed up things, and just because we have these messed up thoughts inside of ourselves, we don't act on them. We try to be better.
Yeah. I
No.
mean, listen, I love a good I love a good superhero story. I love a good misfit story.
Yeah.
You know, I just yeah. I could go on and on, dudes. I could go on and on, but I also made the promise that when my tequila was finished.
Oh yes, we
Yeah,
should end. It has been a long
no,
show.
totally. Well, last question about dorky
Yes.
stuff. Did you by chance watch The Offer?
I haven't because I listen. I am an actor. I all of these fucking different subscription services. It's like I have to cancel one or two before I take on another one or two, because otherwise, then it's just I'm gonna become a potato blob.
All you gotta do what we do: get friends with Netflix, have everybody on that subscription. The other friend gets Hulu, everybody's on that subscription. Another friend has Disney Plus, everybody's on that. Somebody else has Discovery Plus, and then I could go for a month on all the subscriptions.
I love that, and that is actually a very wise thought. But then I would have to talk to random people.
Yeah,
not random
that
people. I would have
hurts.
to talk to different friends, and then they'd be like, "Well, why can't you just get your own? Why do you need mine?" And then it's like, you obviously don't know how.
Yeah.
Um,
This was the
Community, that's
easier
all.
path. You already
Yeah.
have it. We can
Yeah.
share.
Yes, exactly. I'm all about the communal sharing.
Yeah.
For most things.
Communist socialist.
Watch, I'm going to be on a list by the end of this episode.
Well, thank you, Heather. This has been
Yeah.
so much fun. Even
Oh my
though we
God.
went deep, this has been like
Totally.
inspiring.
You guys are great, and thank you for having me. It's been an absolute joy, and hopefully we'll get to do it again at some point.
Oh, totally. I want to remind everybody, Classic Rewind, June 24th, 25th, and 26th. You can go there and meet Heather, and it is in the at the ShowBoat in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And so, Heather, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Twitter is fine, and TikTok is fine, and Instagram is fine. I don't have a Facebook page anymore. So those three spaces you can find me.
Sounds good. And your Heather-Matarazzo.com. I have that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
Including the Classic Rewind and all the links you just gave. And Cameo, you're on Cameo.
Oh, that's correct. I am on Cameo. So if you need me to break up with your boyfriend, or wish your child a happy birthday, I'm more than happy to do that.
Very cool.
Have
Awesome.
you had to break up with anybody's boyfriend?
Thankfully, I haven't, but I don't accept every request because some requests are weird. Where it's like, perform, monkey, perform for us, and I'm like, no.
Dance.
Did you not?
We have peanuts here.
Yeah, it's like, did you not listen to my report on dignity?
Right.
Well, this has been an awesome show. I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You'll find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. We got about 40 shows on a network. There's a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. Head on over to thedorkening.com. You can find all the latest episodes there. And if you missed this episode, we stream everywhere and also on Dead Dork Radio as well. And just head on over to Live 365, look for Dead Dork Radio, and you'll find all the info there. BJ, where do you like people interacting with you?
Pretty much anywhere. You can find me on social media. Definitely on the Throwdown Thursday Facebook group. We're always doing new stuff. We had to take some time off because I had to have a surgical tooth extraction, and then I got COVID, so we kind of missed a couple of weeks there. But we're back. We're continuing our Batman. We watched Batman Forever, so you don't have to. But we've got some good stuff coming up. We have our 300th episode coming up soon. Woo-hoo. So that's really exciting. And hopefully we can do something live. Hopefully life stops kicking us in the face. This has been a very difficult year so far. So hopefully things kind of tone down a little bit. But yeah, that's a good place.
Awesome. Jar Jar.
Coming over to Comic Book Lovers, Buy, Sell, Trade, and Auction over on Facebook as always. And I'm hanging out here Mondays on Creator Spotlight, Tuesdays over on Splash Pages, and Wednesdays sometimes on The Dorkening. Yes.
Yeah, doing it all.
Doing it all. I'm the whore.
Fill up, my friend.
Folks can find me at the Dark Discussions Podcast Facebook group. Right now we're doing the LGBTQ Pride Month, doing a weekly film that's LGBTQ. Tomorrow's is being released, and then we'll have the very last one next week. So come to Dark Discussions Podcast Facebook group or darkdiscussions.com.
Very cool. With that, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.